A millionaire came home without notice and froze when he saw the maid doing this to his son. Mark Jenkins was a millionaire who owned a large mansion in the suburbs with his wife and kids. They had a huge house with an even bigger garden for their kids to play in. Mark's wife, Susan, had hired a maid named Clara to take care of the house. She was the best one they could find, and she had been with them for over 8 years now. Mark really liked Clara. She was very professional, kind, and most of all, honest. But there was something about her that Mark just couldn't put his finger on. He couldn't understand why his wife had hired her in the first place. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, or the fact that she always kept him at a distance. It didn't make sense. Despite this, Mark still treated Clara like his own family member, and he made sure that she got all the credit she deserved. One day, Mark decided to surprise his family and go to the grocery store himself. He hadn't done it in years because he always sent his driver, but he wanted to be the one to prepare his children's favorite meal for dinner. He picked up the ingredients for spaghetti bolognese, then went to the freezer aisle to get some ice cream for dessert. He knew his kids would love it if he got them some fun-shaped pasta, and while he was looking around, he found some dinosaur-shaped ones, which were his son's favorite. Mark put everything in his cart and went to pay for it, excited to cook for his family. When he arrived home, he noticed that Clara wasn't there to open the door for him like she usually did. Instead, he heard loud music coming from the kitchen. As he got closer, he could see his oldest son dancing around the kitchen while making funny faces. Clara was sitting on a chair laughing as she watched him. Mark opened his mouth in shock. Was this how Clara spent her time? He felt betrayed. How could she joke around instead of tidying up the house like she was supposed to? He took a deep breath before clearing his throat so they'd know he was there. His son stopped dancing immediately and turned around with a big smile on his face. "Daddy, you're home early," he said. "It's a surprise," Mark lied, trying to hide his disappointment. He forced a smile and replied, "Oh, I just finished work earlier than expected. How are you two doing?" Clara stood up from her seat and answered, "We were just having some fun, Mr. Jenkins." Mark nodded slowly, still not convinced. He looked at his son, who was staring at the ground waiting for him to leave the room. This made Mark feel even worse. He crouched down next to his son and asked, "What's wrong, buddy? Why are you acting like this?" His son bit his lip and whispered, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I shouldn't have been dancing with Clara." "You're right." No, you don't understand," Clara said quickly, stepping between them. "It's my fault. I asked your son to dance with me because I was bored. I didn't mean for him to stop cleaning." "Though, that's enough, Clara," Mark interrupted her. He could tell his son was ashamed for what happened, but he also knew he didn't do anything wrong. "I'm sorry, son. I'll talk to Clara later," Mark told his son before helping him finish cleaning the kitchen. As soon as they were done, Mark went back to the living room to talk to Clara. "Get out," he said without thinking. Clara's eyes widened in shock. "What did I do now, Mr. Jenkins?" she asked timidly. "Why didn't you clean the house? You know I hate coming home to a dirty house," Mark said, feeling guilty for yelling at her. He was used to yelling at his employees, but Clara wasn't an employee. She was part of the family. "But you never told me you were coming home early, sir," Clara replied. "You always send Peter, your driver, to let me know when you're coming home so I can tidy up first." "Well, I wanted to surprise the kids, so I didn't want to tell anyone," Mark explained. "I'm sorry if that offended you, but please don't do it again?" "Yes, sir," Clara answered quietly. She was sad, but she understood. She should have known better than to disobey him. However, little did she know that Mark wasn't actually mad at her. After talking to her, he realized it was his own fault. She had only danced with his son because he had left the house messy after bringing the groceries in. But he didn't say anything to her because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. Instead, he went to his son's room and knocked on the door. "Come in, Daddy," his son called out. Mark opened the door and asked, "Hey, buddy, are you sure you're okay?" His son sat up on his bed and replied, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little scared of what you might say." Mark walked up to him and hugged him tight. "I'm sorry, son. Don't ever be scared of me. If you need anything, just ask me." "Okay, okay, Daddy," his son replied, hugging him back. Mark stayed in his son's room for a while longer before going back to the kitchen to look for Clara. He wanted to apologize to her too. As he was walking towards the kitchen, he heard voices and he froze in his tracks. He peeked through the door and saw Clara crying on the floor while holding a pan. In front of her were his two sons who were looking at her with concern. "Are you all right, Clara?" His youngest son asked her worriedly. "What happened?" "I'm fine," Clara stammered. "I just accidentally cut myself while chopping vegetables." "Oh, come on," Mark said as he opened the door. "Let me see." He helped her up from the floor and looked at her hand. It was bleeding, but not seriously. "You should go clean that up," Mark said, "and then go rest for the day. You don't have to come back tomorrow either. Take a whole week off." "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins," Clara said, wiping away her tears. "I won't bother you guys anymore. Don't call me Mr. Jenkins. Call me Mark," Mark said with a smile, "and don't worry about taking a break. We'll pay you double for the next week." "Really?" Clara asked, surprised. "Of course," Mark said. "Now go take care of yourself." Mark watched as Clara left the kitchen before going back to his sons. He hugged both of them and told them how proud he was of them. He explained to them that it was his fault, that she had gotten hurt, and that he would talk to her later. They spent the rest of the day playing games together and eating takeout until it was time for bed. Mark tucked them in and kissed them goodnight before leaving their room. On his way out, he saw Clara standing by the door. "Can I talk to you for a second, Mark?" she asked. "Sure," Mark replied. "Is everything okay?" "No, it's not," Clara said. "I haven't been honest with you." "What do you mean?" Mark asked. "I'm not just a maid," she said. "I'm your sister." Mark was shocked. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "What?" "I'm sorry I lied to you," Clara said, "but I had to protect you. Our parents promised to give us away if we ever revealed ourselves to each other, but I couldn't keep it a secret anymore. I hope you can forgive me." Mark stared at her in disbelief. He had never met his father or mother. He had been adopted by another family when he was still a baby. He had no idea that he had a sister, "So that's why you were so distant with me," Mark said. "You didn't want me to get close to you." "I'm sorry," Clara said. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I'm not your enemy. I'm your family. I love you." Mark was stunned. He didn't know what to say. He had so many questions, but he didn't want to push her. He took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry, too. I was wrong to yell at you. I should have been nicer to you when we met." "It's all right," Clara said. "I understand. So, do you want to get to know each other now?" "Sure," Mark said with a smile. "I'd like that." And that's how Mark and his sister finally got to meet under the weirdest circumstances. They talked for hours that night, and Mark learned all about his sister's life and why she had to live as a maid in his house. In the end, Mark decided to hire Clara as his personal assistant so she wouldn't have to work as a maid anymore. They became very close, and Mark was glad he finally had someone from his birth family in his life.